Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the Dividend Portfolio. It is January 23rd, 2026. I'm going to go over where the dividend portfolio stands today and look at some of the holdings. As of today, the dividends that have come in January 2026 are $345.23. Going over to the right here, we can see all of the different dividends that have come in, including this $106.88 dividend that we'll talk about. But the rest of these coming in, we've got some nice $39 dividend, $34 dividend, $32 dividend. So these are pretty nice, and the month is not quite over yet. I'm expecting that we'll hit $350 for this month. Going down to some of the charts on the left side, this has been the sum for the year. So we started in April last year, and by the end of the year, we brought in $1,548. So far this year for January, it's $345. I'll be adding up and we'll see where we get by the end of this year. If we stay on track with where we're at, we can kind of estimate. I think there's a few more that are going to come in this month, so we can estimate it'll be $350. If nothing changes, we can multiply that by 12 for the rest of the year, and we can estimate we'll bring in $4,200 in dividends this year, which is awesome passive income. Going forward, this chart down here on the right, this is the dividends per month since I started this back in April. And what we want to see here is a nice growth up and to the right. I have automatic buys on, and um, this is actually bigger than I thought we would get this month. But I think, I have my automatic buys on into these funds, still set pretty high. We're seeing the snowball effect that we want as this grows up and to the right. And next month it'll be even higher. And even though this month here was a big outlier, there's a good chance in 2 more months we'll have our highest month ever. Going on, so I'm keeping track of the total returns now. Just before I make this video, I just kind of punch in what the returns are for each fund, right? So going over to the right, the interesting about thing about these total returns, because I'm still buying into many of these, the movement is on the total return is also affected. So for example, if I had 100 shares of Jeppy, if I had 100 shares of Jeppy and it went up 8%, and then I bought another 100 shares, my total return, instead of being up 8%, would just be up 4%, right? So, because I'm still buying into a lot of these, the percentages get reflected by that. But these are all the holdings. I didn't update the weightings for this video, but these are the most recent from the last video a couple weeks ago. So we have some movement. I mean, the market overall is down a little bit, but this is just helping me track, the general direction things are going. And again, the returns are sort of suppressed because when I'm still buying into these, then if a move is 8% over 6 months, but I'm buying in, like I said, it's not going to show like 8%. So, anyways, JEPQ is pretty much the same. The market's down a little bit still right now, so we're seeing QQQI is down quite a lot. But what I'm, some of the Funds that are more defensive are doing better, which is cool, and that's sort of what you expect to see. JAAA and clause are positive for like the first time since I've held them. Here's clause is now up 0.27, and JAAA is up here 0.14%. So both of these are very defensive positions, and they're positive for the first time pretty much since I've held them. I'm not expecting them to move very much, but it's interesting to watch the defensive positions. Even JBBB is up near zero, and it's it's defensive. SPHD is up, and that's a quite defensive position. SCHD also up a lot, pretty defensive position. Um, our biggest concern always is SPYT because it has a 20% dividend return per year, so that's where the big like $100 dividends come in is from that SPYT. So I'm tracking it here. The current total return um, at this negative 3.22%. The total, what that looks like in dollar values, is negative $205. So far, it's brought in $309 in dividends. So I think if I'm doing this right, the final return for SPYT is still positive at $104. But if this drops much more, this can break even or even go in the red. We're only like a week and a half away from getting another $100 dividend, but I do need to watch this one very closely because it's the most volatile position, and that's why I cut some older positions. I had some of these older positions that were paying like on weekly basis, and it was really fun to watch them come in. That's why I have some big outliers like October. But the reality is those are very risky, and they were just going into the red, and I was losing money. I mean, I got out of most of them basically break even, but um, there are two new funds potentially on the horizon that I'm sort of taking a look at, but they're too new for me to want to try anything with them. Overall, we're looking good. The fund is trending in the right direction. $345 for this month so far, and a few more dividends to come in. So I think we'll hit that $350 mark. Otherwise, thanks for being here. And, this whole channel has been to kind of experiment and see what a real dividend portfolio would be like. Um, I'm liking the passive income. Um, Obviously, for where I'm at, everything is just buying back into the funds, but we're seeing a very slow like snowball effect. And when I run numbers for potential retirement, it looks good. And even at the pace that I'm going, I mean, the ultimate goal will be to get this to $1,000 a month, which would be pretty cool. But we'll hit the $500 a month mark first and have a little celebration on that one. And hopefully SPYT holds up because that $20 or that 20% dividend is pretty good. I can take a look at SPYT on Yahoo Finance here. I'll take a little look. So here's SPYT. The dividend yield is just north of 20% per year. Let's click on the 5 year. So this says it's down 11%. Oh, wait, this has not been around that long. So this says it's down 11% basically since inception in 2024. So we're coming up on the 2 year birthday of this fund. So it is trending downwards, but if it's trending downwards slower than the yield, you can, you know, potentially break even. I don't really know how I'm supposed to find like news on this. Here's sector weighting. Um, says top 1% holdings. But over the last 12 months, I mean, it stayed in this range, but it does look like it's got a slight downward pressure. Um, there's like a lower low here. I mean, overall, the market is feeling downward. We're seeing downward pressure on like the entire market, right? Um, so it's not surprising that a lot of the funds that I do hold are going to reflect the overall market. If anything, they should move less than the overall market. Maybe SPYT would be the only exception um, in that. But we're here for the dividends, and that's what's been paying out. So that's the portfolio update. Thanks for being here.